Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Harvey. Let me tell you something most women don't realize, and most men will never admit out loud. Men test women in silence. We don't announce it. We don't send you a memo. We don't sit you down and say, this is a test. No, we just get quiet and we watch. And the reason most women fail is not because they're bad women, but because they don't even know the test is happening. Men observe more than they explain. And that right there is where most people get confused. See, men are not wired to talk through every thought, every feeling, every decision while it's happening. We watch first. We listen first. We gather information quietly. While you're asking questions, trying to define things, trying to label what's going on, a man is sitting back taking mental notes. He's watching how you react, how you move, how you handle situations when nobody is guiding you or reassuring you. And the reason he doesn't explain what he's doing is because explanation would ruin the truth he's trying to see. A man wants to know who you are without instructions. Anybody can act right when they know what's expected. Anybody can behave when the rules are clear. But when things are undefined, when communication slows, when emotions aren't spelled out, that's when your natural tendencies show up. Men notice patterns. They notice tone changes, energy shifts, patience levels, and emotional control. And they notice it all without saying a word. This is why a man can know far more about a woman than she realizes, while she thinks nothing is happening because he's quiet. Everything is happening in his mind. He's asking himself if she's emotionally stable or emotionally reactive, if she can regulate herself, or if she needs constant reassurance to feel secure, if she brings peace into uncertainty or chaos into calm. Men don't always explain because they want honesty, not performance. The moment he explains what he's watching for, the behavior changes. Now you're trying to pass instead of being yourself. Silence gives him the raw version. It gives him the unfiltered truth, and men trust what they observe far more than what they're told. This is also why arguments often start with, "You should have said something." From a man's perspective, what you did told him more than what you could have said. Actions in quiet moments speak louder than long conversations. How you handle disappointment, how you manage your emotions, how you respect boundaries, those things communicate volumes without a single word being exchanged. Men also observe how you treat yourself, how you speak about yourself, how you carry yourself when no one is validating you. Confidence doesn't need commentary. Insecurity always asks for explanation, and a man is watching to see which one shows up naturally. When men are silent, they're not absent, they're attentive, they're measuring long-term compatibility, not short-term emotion. They're deciding if this is someone they can build with, someone who understands that not everything needs to be discussed immediately, someone who can stand firm without being constantly held up. And the truth is, a man's silence is rarely empty. It's usually full of observation, judgment, and decision-making happening quietly in real time. Silence is a test of emotional maturity, and most people don't even realize they're being examined in that moment. When a man goes quiet, He's not always pulling away, and he's not always losing interest. Many times, he's creating space to see how you manage your emotions without his guidance. Emotional maturity shows up when reassurance is missing, when answers are delayed, and when certainty isn't handed to you on a plate. A man wants to know if you can stay balanced in those moments, or if you fall apart the second things feel unclear. Emotional maturity means you don't let your emotions drive the steering wheel every time something feels uncomfortable. It means you can feel anxious, confused, or uncertain without acting impulsively. Men notice whether you can pause instead of panic, reflect instead of react. Silence gives them the clearest view of this because there's nothing to distract from your natural response. No compliments, no explanations, no emotional cushioning, just you and how you handle the unknown. A man watches to see if you create stories in your head that aren't based on facts. Does silence turn into accusations? Does distance become disrespect in your mind? Emotional maturity is the ability to sit with unanswered questions without turning them into emotional weapons. When a woman starts assuming the worst, sending multiple messages, demanding clarity immediately, or expressing frustration without understanding, a man reads that as emotional instability, not passion. Men also observe whether you can self-soothe. Can you calm yourself without needing constant reassurance from him? Can you maintain your routine, your joy, your sense of self when he's not emotionally present for a moment? Emotional maturity means your happiness doesn't collapse because someone else is quiet. A man wants a partner, not a project, and silence quickly reveals whether someone can stand on their own emotionally. Another part of this test is patience. Emotionally mature women understand that everyone processes differently. They know that silence doesn't always mean something is wrong. Sometimes it means someone is thinking, handling pressure, or simply needing space. Instead of forcing communication before a man is ready, they allow him the room to return on his own terms. That patience communicates confidence, trust, and emotional depth without a single word being spoken. Men pay close attention to how respectful you remain during silence. Emotional maturity shows when you don't punish someone for needing space. No cold behavior, no passive aggression, no guilt tripping, just steady energy and self-respect. That kind of calm strength is rare, and it stands out immediately to a man who's watching quietly. In the end, silence doesn't test how much you care. It tests how well you're built emotionally. And men notice who can handle quiet moments with grace, stability, and self-control, because those are the qualities that survive real life pressure long after words fade away. Consistency matters more than words, and this is something men learn early, whether they can explain it or not. Words are easy. Anybody can talk when emotions are high, when attraction is strong, when promises sound good. But men don't build trust on what is said in a moment. They build it on what stays the same over time. That's why a man watches behavior in silence. He's looking for patterns, not speeches. A man pays attention to whether your energy changes depending on how much attention you're getting. Are you kind only when things are going your way, Or are you steady even when things slow down? Consistency shows emotional reliability. It tells a man that who you are today is who you'll be tomorrow, and that's more valuable than any beautiful sentence spoken in the heat of emotion. When a woman says one thing but reacts another way, a man notices. He notices if you say you're understanding but become impatient the moment he needs space. He notices if you claim to be confident but crumble when communication isn't constant. Silence exposes these gaps because there's nothing to hide behind. You can't talk your way out of inconsistency when there are no conversations happening. Only behavior is speaking. Men look for consistency because life is not consistent. Stress, work pressure, and responsibility all come in waves. A man wants to know if you remain grounded when circumstances change. He's asking himself if your mood, respect, and effort disappear the moment things don't feel perfect. Consistency tells him whether you're someone he can rely on when life gets heavy. Words can promise loyalty, patience, and understanding, but consistency proves it. Showing up the same way repeatedly without needing reminders or reassurance sends a powerful message. It tells a man that your character isn't situational. You don't love hard one day and withdraw the next. You don't respect him only when he's performing. That steadiness creates safety, and safety is what makes men commit. Silence becomes the testing ground because it removes emotional influence. There's no arguing, no explaining, no persuading. Just time and behavior. A man watches whether you remain respectful, calm, and self-assured across days and weeks, not just in emotional moments. He's noticing if you can hold your ground without becoming distant or demanding. Consistency also shows in how you treat yourself. Do you maintain your boundaries, routines, and self-respect even when a man isn't actively validating you? Men notice women who don't abandon themselves for attention. That kind of consistency signals strength and emotional health, which is deeply attractive in the end. Men trust what repeats, not what is said once. Silence allows repetition to reveal truth, and a woman who remains consistent in her energy, values, and behavior, even when nothing is being discussed, is quietly passing one of the most important tests a man will ever give. Respect is measured when no one is watching, and silence is the moment when that measurement becomes clearest. When a man isn't speaking, explaining, or actively engaging, he's paying attention to how you treat him without an audience and without immediate feedback. Respect in loud moments can be performative. Respect in quiet moments is real. A man wants to know if your respect depends on his presence or if it exists regardless of whether he's in the room emotionally. In silence, a man observes how you speak about him to others. Does your tone change when he's not there to hear it? Do you protect his name or do you diminish him when you're frustrated? Men are deeply affected by this, even if they don't show it. A woman who maintains respect in his absence communicates loyalty and integrity, two qualities that carry enormous weight in a man's mind. Men also watch how you handle boundaries. Silence often comes with space, and space reveals whether you respect a man's need to process, think, and breathe. Respect shows when you don't invade that space with pressure, guilt, or control. A man notices if you allow him to be human instead of demanding constant availability. That kind of respect tells him you see him as a partner, not a possession. Another quiet test of respect is how you react to inconvenience. When things don't go your way, when plans change, when expectations aren't met immediately, does your tone remain respectful or does frustration turn into disrespect? Men pay close attention to this because they know life will present many inconvenient moments. They're asking themselves if you can handle disappointment without tearing down their dignity. Respect also appears in how you manage disagreements when communication is limited. Silence can feel uncomfortable, but a respectful woman doesn't use it as a weapon. No passive aggression, no cold punishment, no subtle jabs meant to regain control. Men notice whether you choose maturity over manipulation. They remember how you made them feel in those moments far more than the issue that caused them. Men also observe self-respect. How you value yourself teaches a man how to treat you. When you maintain your standards, routines, and emotional balance, even in silence, it signals strength. A woman who respects herself doesn't beg for attention or chase validation. She trusts her worth, and that confidence commands respect naturally. In quiet moments, a man is deciding whether respect is part of your character or just something you perform when things are good. Silence strips away the opportunity to impress with words and leaves only behavior behind. And men don't forget how respected or disrespected they felt when no one was watching and nothing was being said. Patience reveals true character, and silence is where patience is either strengthened or exposed. When a man goes quiet, he's not just stepping back from conversation, he's stepping into observation. He's watching to see how you behave when you don't get immediate answers, instant reassurance, or constant engagement. Patience isn't about waiting without feeling anything. It's about how you manage yourself while you wait. And that's what men pay attention to most. A patient woman doesn't rush to fill every gap with fear. She understands that not every pause is a problem and not every quiet moment needs to be fixed. Men notice when you give them time without pressure, without ultimatums, and without emotional panic. That calm response tells a man you trust both yourself and the connection. It shows maturity, stability, and inner strength. Men also watch how you handle delayed gratification. Can you allow something to unfold naturally, or do you try to force clarity before it's ready? Impatience often shows up as control, constant checking, repeated messages, emotional demands. To a man, this doesn't feel like love, it feels like pressure. Patience, on the other hand, feels like safety, and men are drawn to what feels safe. Silence tests whether you can stay emotionally regulated over time. Anyone can be calm for an hour, but patience shows when days pass without answers. A man notices if your tone, respect, and behavior stay steady or slowly turn resentful. Resentment tells him that you struggle with uncertainty. Patience tells him you can handle life's unpredictability. Another layer of patience is trust. When you trust yourself, you don't need constant confirmation from someone else. A man sees this in how you continue living your life, maintaining your responsibilities, friendships, and joy, even when he's quiet. That independence doesn't push a man away. It reassures him that you're emotionally whole. Men also observe whether patience turns into bitterness. Silence can make people keep score, replay conversations, and build silent grudges. A patient woman doesn't weaponize waiting. She doesn't punish later or bring up silence as a debt owed. Men remember whether peace was preserved or poisoned during those quiet stretches. Patience shows a man how you'll handle long-term challenges, careers, family responsibilities, stress, and personal growth all require time and space. A man wants to know if you'll stand beside him with grace or demand constant proof of love. Silence becomes the test because it mirrors real life, imperfect, slow, and sometimes unclear. In quiet moments, patience isn't passive, it's powerful. And men recognize the strength of a woman who can wait without weakening, trust without controlling, and remain calm without losing herself. How a woman handles distance tells a man everything he needs to know, because distance is where reality replaces romance. When a man creates space, whether intentional or circumstantial, he's not just stepping away from communication, he's observing how you respond when connection isn't constantly reinforced. Distance removes emotional cushioning. There are no daily affirmations, no steady reminders of interest, no continuous presence. What remains is your sense of self, your emotional strength, and your understanding of balance. Men notice first whether distance makes you lose yourself. Do you abandon your routine, your goals, and your sense of identity the moment he's less available? Or do you remain grounded, continuing to live your life with purpose? A woman who collapses into distance signals emotional dependence, and that creates pressure. A woman who stays centered signals strength, and that builds attraction. Men don't want to feel like the sole source of your stability. They want to add to your life, not become the thing holding it together. Distance also reveals trust. When a man is not physically or emotionally present, trust either deepens or disintegrates. Men watch to see if you assume the worst or give space the benefit of the doubt. Suspicion shows up quickly in how someone communicates, accusatory tones, indirect comments, or subtle checks for reassurance. A woman who handles distance with trust communicates confidence and emotional security without saying a word. Another thing men observe is how you communicate when space exists. Distance doesn't mean silence forever, but it does mean communication becomes more intentional. Men notice whether your messages feel supportive or demanding, light or heavy, respectful or controlling. The energy you send during distance matters more than the frequency. One calm, positive interaction outweighs 10 anxious ones. Men remember how you made them feel when they were already stretched thin. Distance tests emotional discipline. When a man isn't around, emotions can amplify. Fear, doubt, and insecurity get louder. Men watch whether you let those emotions run your behavior or whether you manage them internally.